I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Of all the actors who rose to fame in the 1980s, there's an upper echelon of names that anyone would recognize. Schwarzenegger and Stallone are two, and the next one, of course, on that list is Bruce Willis. He's most often associated with his classic role as John McClane in the Die Hard franchise, amongst countless other roles both critically acclaimed and derided. Willis has made a career out of mainstream successes like Die Hard, Armageddon, and Look Who's Talking, while also taking riskier turns in films like Unbreakable, Pulp Fiction, The Fifth Element, and 12 Monkeys. And you know what? They were risky, but they were all hits.
Whose chopper is this?
Zed's.
Who's Zed?
Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead.
Willis has also stretched himself as an actor with movies that are beloved by fans despite not being hits. One such hit, of course, is 1991's Hudson Hawk, which almost ended his career, but 30 years later is kind of seen as a cult classic. While Willis's recent VOD output has strayed from his best work for obvious reasons that were only recently revealed, let's take a look back at one of the actor's first big roles in a movie that a lot of people overlook, the 1987 Blake Edwards comedy Blind Date.
Is she reasonably good looking?
Reasonably doesn't begin to describe it. I'm looking at a picture of her right now and I'm telling you, she's an honest-to-God knockout.
This is basically Bruce Willis's first credited big screen role, although he was already well known at the time because he was a star on Moonlighting on TV. This was the movie that helped him break out into films, and it also featured Kim Basinger, John Larroquette, and the late Phil Hartman. Written by Dale Launer, Blind Date went through numerous rewrites before it finally landed a director. Launer does hold the screenwriting credit on the movie, but has since distanced himself from the version that went in front of the cameras. Blind Date struggled in early development when it was a potential vehicle for the recently married Sean Penn and Madonna. The actor and singer were excited for the comedy project, but when the movie could not find a director, the pair exited. In a funny twist, Penn and Madonna would eventually find a movie to star in, 1986's Shanghai Surprise, and that movie would turn out to be a massive failure and is considered, in fact, one of the worst films ever made.
He didn't even finish the nipples on my little sweetheart.
Beatle George Harrison produced Shanghai Surprise via his Handmade Films production company, which also, for a while, held the rights to Blind Date. Handmade Films sold the rights to Blake Edwards, the legendary filmmaker behind such classics as Breakfast at Tiffany's, The Pink Panther, and 10. Thank you for watching JoBlo videos. If you enjoy our shows, please subscribe to our channel right now, like this video, and click on the bell so you'll be notified each time a new video goes up. Now, back to the show. Edwards signed on as director of Blind Date under the condition that substantial rewrites be made to the script. Edwards had served as a writer on the majority of his directorial efforts before Blind Date and had performed uncredited adjustments to the film alongside Leslie Dixon, Tom Ropolowski, and Michael Allen Eddy. When Edwards came on board, Madonna was courted again for the lead but turned it down when Sean Penn would not be considered. Bruce Willis earned the role, likely due to his growing popularity from the network comedy drama Moonlighting, which began airing in 1985.
You know I got it. All I'm asking for respect.
Willis would re-team with Edwards for a second time in the much less successful 1988 film Sunset.
Now what I got here is a 12-gauge full choke shotgun. You just go ahead and count 3, Dutch. Let's see who gets killed first.
Edwards recruited Kim Basinger for the role of Nadia after having cast her in 1983's The Man Who Loved Women and considering her for Bo Derek's iconic role in 1979's Dudley Moore comedy 10. Blind Date would be Blake Edwards' 45th directorial effort and featured many of his frequent collaborators. Composer Henry Mancini partnered with Edwards for the 24th time of their illustrious career, which garnered the musicians 4 Academy Awards from 12 nominations. Comedian Graham Stark worked with Blake Edwards on 7 Pink Panther movies and Victor Victoria before appearing in this film as Jordan the Butler. Edwards also brought in musicians Billy Vera and the Beaters for multiple songs in this film after previously performing in his 1986 movie A Fine Mess. Blind Date was produced by Tony Adams, a collaborator on 5 films with Blake Edwards. Cinematographer Harry Stradling Jr., a 4-time collaborator with Edwards, served as the director of photography. Filmed from May to July 1986, Blind Date made great use of the Los Angeles area, including properties owned by the Hilton family. Interior sequences were shot at Blake Edwards' own corporate headquarters, Laird Studios. In another interesting bit of trivia, Blind Date shares a connection with Willis's then-future hit Die Hard. In scenes set in David Bedford's office, the Fox building can be seen under construction outside. Missing windows and some upper-level touches, this is the site that would forever become known with its fictional name of Nakatomi Plaza.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Produced for $16 million, Blind Date would go on to box office success with a gross just shy of $40 million. So why have many of you never heard of it? Well, critics did not like this movie, which only holds a 21% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Most critics found moments to appreciate in it, but wrote it off as a series of sight gags that didn't work well together. It's definitely easy to overlook Blind Date in the wake of Die Hard, which opened the following year, but there's a lot to appreciate in this movie, which had Willis working with one of the most acclaimed comedy directors of all time. Blind Date plays with the madcap comedy that Edwards himself honed in the Pink Panther films. The story follows Willis as Walter Davis, and in another fun note, Willis's legal first name actually is Walter, Bruce's his middle name. Walter is a workaholic who is set up by his brother Ted, played by Phil Hartman, on a date with Ted's wife's cousin, Nadia, played by the gorgeous Kim Basinger.
You've tried to find me Miss Right before, only you always forget to mention one crucial detail, like she's a dope addict or a lesbian, or keeps a dead cat in the freezer.
Ted's wife tells him to warn Walter that when Nadia gets drunk that her behavior can become erratic.
You get her drunk, she loses control.
But Walter takes this as a joke rather than a serious issue. When they first meet, Nadia and Walter hit it off right away, but things take a bad turn when Nadia goes wild after getting a couple of cocktails in her. Things go worse when Nadia and Walter begin getting stalked by her ex-boyfriend David, played by the hilarious John Larroquette. David crops up regularly throughout their evening, attacking Walter and crashing his car several times.
I'll kill you!
This madcap evening gets Walter fired and eventually arrested, driving him insane. Blind Date shifts the comedy between Basinger and Willis, with one acting kooky while the other plays it straight. Early in the movie, Basinger gets to do the broad comedy while Willis maintains his composure, but as the film progresses, we see the roles reverse, allowing the two actors to play different kinds of comedy throughout. Many of the funniest sequences in the film are staged in the traditional manner that gives the movie the look of an older film, despite the 1980s fashion, music, and dialogue. The manic performance that Bruce Willis gives as the increasingly unhinged Walter was one of the first signs of his talents as an actor. As he yells and pulls his hair out due to the shenanigans surrounding him, you can see early indicators of what Willis would bring to Die Hard and countless films over the following decades.
Moonwalk! I hate that shit!
It's hilarious to see him do the opposite of subtle, but it's a performance that makes the film work well. And of course, Bruce Willis isn't the whole show here. Kim Basinger is actually quite funny in her role as Nadia. You never really see Kim Basinger play kooky outside of, maybe My Stepmother's an Alien, but she really did have a flair for comedy.
I mean, it sort of makes me go crazy.
But best of all is John Larroquette off of the TV show Night Court, where he was famous for playing the horny Dan Fielding.
What's he so happy about? Hard to say. Last time he acted like that, he'd just run over the cat.
Here he's, horny and crazy, but in this case he's a bad guy, whereas Dan Fielding was always kind of a good guy. The movie follows all of the many expected beats of a farcical comedy, complete with a happy ending that features a pool, and also featured later on in the music video for the Cars song Magic. Running a lean 95 minutes, Blind Date is a fast and fun comedy that brings Edwards' traditional directorial style to a new generation of audience. There are a few filmmakers who are able to stage zany comedy like this, and not many other films are able to take such a silly idea and make it big screen worthy. Blind Date should be at the top of your list of unknown Bruce Willis movies to watch because it was really his first breakout hit and a rare kind of solo zany comedy for him. Willis made a lot of movies that were funny, but not necessarily solo comedies. As we look back at the legendary career of Mr. Willis, this is an unknown gem that should be revisited. And if you like this kind of program, make sure to click on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. We're an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.